to. Some days it takes me a minute or two, but the world keeps turning like it's meant to do, and time don't wait.
That's right. Good Saturday morning to you, Chicago, and everyone else who's listening all over the country. Come on, let me tell you something. I'm your host, LaDonna Raeh, holding it down, all the way down for Clara Hubbard while she's away. And listen, we've got a powerful, practical conversation lined up for you today. Now, before we get into it, I've got a special co-host in the building. Today is my son's birthday. He's 15 today, and he decided he didn't decide, but I'm going to say he decided to spend part of his day with me and with us right here behind the mic. So first of all, happy birthday, Liam.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mom.
And don't get too comfortable, because that mic comes with responsibilities, okay? All right. Now, let's get into something a lot of families avoid until it's too late. Because if you think about it, there's nothing like preparing for the inevitable or just about anything. Even right now, we have been preparing for Liam to go to college, and that's going to be in 3 years. You do the countdown. But what about preparing for or doing estate planning? That's right. We're talking about estate planning, and no, not just for the wealthy, because as I was talking to Liam on the way here, I said, what is estate planning to you? And I think that in your mind, you may have thought about some mansions, some driveways and some Rolls Royces, but it's not just for the wealthy. It is for all of us who have an estate. So joining us on the live line is none other than legal line attorney Ted London. Someone who's here to break this all the way down, as I said earlier, and not just in legal jargon. He breaks it down and makes it clear and plain. Welcome, Attorney Ted London.
Ms. LaDonna Raeh, good morning to you, and good morning to the Clara Hubbard Senior Talk listeners, and happy birthday to Mr. Liam. I remember when I was 15 years old, many, many years ago, but guess what? I remember 15 years old. I think at 15, I was a junior in high school. Let's see, what was I doing? I had my first job. I lived in Oakland, California at the time, and I worked at a place called Doggy Diner. That was my very first job, and got paid every Friday. I worked at Doggy Diner for about a year and a half, and really, really a great experience. So I don't know why young folks aren't working as much these days, but that was a great experience. I had my very first job, 15 years old, at Doggy Diner. I actually lied about my age. I said that I was 16, but I was actually 15, and great experience.
Wait a minute. Is Doggy Diner still around?
Doggy Diner is no longer around.
Oh, man. I was going to send them over there.
No, Doggy Diner was one of these restaurants in California.
Oh, right.
I lived in California for 3 years of my high school, and Doggy Diner was a 24-hour kind of hot dog stand.
Oh.
Believe it or not, it is very difficult to get a good hot dog. Hot dogs aren't made the same across the board. There's really only one place I know that I can get a good hot dog in Chicago. There's no place on the South Side, respectfully, that I know that I get a good Chicago-style hot dog. Relish, onions, mustard.
Well, wait. I got to interrupt you, Ted. We got to talk about this estate planning, because, see, now you're making me hungry. It's already 7 o'clock in the morning. I can see myself going to get a hot dog for sure.
Yes.
But, I just want to remind people, if they're on Facebook Live, go ahead and share the show. And, of course, you can hit those phone lines at 773-591-1690. And Senior Talk, as you know, we come here each and every Saturday talking to not just seniors, but caregivers, talking to individuals that are surrounded by seniors, and hopefully having that plan to partner with someone as a caregiver, right? If in case that time comes. But I am excited about this whole estate planning, because, as you know, Ted, I know you talk about it throughout the week, but just in general, when it comes to a senior, because I call myself a pre-senior, there are opportunities to understand what estate planning is, and that's what you're here for. Can you tell us what is estate planning?
Yes. Please forgive me for digressing on that,
That's
LaDonna.
okay.
Let's start from the beginning. In the beginning, the research suggests that most millionaires are not driving Rolls Royces and they do not live in mansions. Many millionaires in the African American community are folks that live in our communities right next door to us, and the neighbors don't know it, and sometimes they don't even recognize that they are millionaires. Millionaires really account for how much money you have in your financial accounts and how much the value of your home is, less the mortgage. And so there are many folks who are in fact millionaires. One of the things that we find with our African American clients is that oftentimes they don't realize how much they have accumulated in terms of wealth. And sometimes when they come into our office and we start adding up the value of their home, sometimes they have multiple properties, they have multiple accounts. Sometimes they're often surprised that they have accumulated so much wealth. One of the other things that we see so often is that even folks who have worked for 40 years, bought homes, paid for homes, sent children to college, educated them, and now caring for grandchildren, and sometimes well into their 80s and even beyond the years of 80 years old, and have accumulated quite a bit of wealth in terms of equity in the homes, dollar value in their financial accounts. For whatever reason, they don't come in to get their affairs in order. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that causes their loved ones, once the person goes to heaven, it causes their loved ones to have to go through the expensive, time-consuming, stressful probate process. I did an event a week ago at a church, and we're so grateful that we get invited to so many churches and organizations to speak. If any of you have any churches, organizations where you'd like us to come out and share some information about estate plan, you can always call us and invite us. We come out for free. But I asked some of the listeners last week, what's the reason why many folks don't get estate planning done? And I had a couple of answers. One answer was because folks just don't have a lot of information. Some of them said, well, their ancestors didn't really teach them about the value of estate planning. Another person said that folks just procrastinate. All of those are legitimate reasons why folks don't come in and get their affairs in order. But really, for you listeners, typically folks who are 65 and older, to come in and make sure that your home's going to be transferred to your loved ones without them having to go through the expensive probate process, or that your money is going to go to whomever you want to have it after you without them having to go through the expensive probate process to collect it, or that you have someone in a position to make health care and business decisions for you if you can't make them yourself without your loved one having to go through the expensive probate process to be appointed your guardian. To get those things in order is really painless. It's very efficient and very affordable. Sometimes I'm still perplexed why more African-American folks will work for 40 years, accumulated money, paid for homes, educated themselves and their children, still refuse to come in and get some of these things taken care of.
You know, I think about how our seniors that are listening might be in a current situation. The situation they may be in is where they're looking around and they're saying, wow, I have this home and I have these assets and I don't necessarily have this estate planning in place. But they also have been, you know, sometimes when life is lifing, you really don't, in your mind, you don't have time to get it together. You'll just deal with it if it comes. But when I talk to you on a weekly basis, and it took me a year to realize it's not if it comes, it's when. So for someone who's sitting and listening to the sound of your voice right now, and they are looking around at everything that they have to get in order, and they don't necessarily know where to start, who to trust, who should even be considered in these plans, what do you say to them?
Well, LaDonna, here's one of the things that we do know is that by the time folks actually make it into our office, they have been thinking about getting their affairs in order for years. So we know folks 65, 70, they are in fact thinking about that I need to get some of these things in order. So they know that. And here's how we know that they know that, because typically client after client, after they come in and we prepare their estate plan, they typically say two things to us. Had I known it was this easy, I would have gotten this done many years ago. And then they also tell us how relieved they are to have gotten it done. So that lets me know that they have been thinking about this for quite some time. Here's what's interesting. Folks often ask us, well, what do I need to bring in? Do I need to bring in my deeds, my mortgages, these things? And in fact, we have many clients, LaDonna, these are primarily ladies who do this. They will come in with bags of information inside of a bag, inside of another bag.
Yeah.
And the fact is, we don't need any of that information at all. You don't need to bring anything at all. You don't need to find any of the old documents. We don't need any of your insurance papers. We don't need any of your bank statements. We don't need your deed to your home. I know you don't probably even know where it is. We don't need the title to your cars. We don't need anything. We just need you to come in. Let's have a conversation. Let's make some decisions in terms of who you're going to leave your home to, who you're going to leave your money to, who's going to be in a position to make decisions for you, and we take care of all the rest. And typically clients will come in and we'll have a conversation, an hour or so, and then they typically come back the next week to sign the documents. And it's painless. And folks tell us day after day, had I known it was this easy and painless, I would have done this many years ago. So it's very simple, nothing complicated. It is not a stressful process at all to get your affairs in order. Once they are in order, then it's done. Now, we do have folks who come in, put their properties in a trust, do power of attorneys, add beneficiaries onto their financial accounts, and then sometimes things change. Someone may pass away, someone may get on their nerves, they may have another grandchild that they may want to add. It's very simple to make amendments to your estate planning. If you've done some estate planning some years ago, I do recommend that clients probably have it reviewed maybe once every 10 years or so, or if there are significant changes that have happened in the family. But it's painless to do, folks. And so please find an attorney, have a meeting, consultation, get some information, and get it done. You'll be really relieved that it is finally taken care of.
All right. Now that we got that out of the way, I have a question for you. It's a personal one. Have you ever been a caregiver?
Yes. I have never really been what they call an official caregiver. We serve many caregivers. We've seen many caregiver circumstances in our office. I think the closest I've ever come to being a caregiver was as my grandmother aged and she was still living alone. I think probably the closest I've come to being a caregiver was still going over to shovel her snow and mow her lawn and bring her meals and take her grocery shopping and those sorts of things. But she was still very independent up to her last days. Short of that, I cannot say that I have ever been a caregiver.
Actually, that is part of caregiving. It starts there. She was just
it does.
Yeah. It started because you sounded like caretaker right there when you said mow lawn and shovel snow.
Mow lawn, shovel whenever it would snow. When my grandmother was living, I would rush over to her home, make sure her snow was shoveled. Always made sure that she had bottled water.
Yeah.
I would take her grocery shopping once a week, once every other week, whenever she needed it. Again, she was very independent. She would have her coffee in the morning. She would watch her stories, but that's about as close to caregiving, caretaking. Of course, I would give her rides to church, maybe pick her up from church if I didn't stay, those sorts of things. But in terms of doing some of the hard work that I see caregivers actually doing on a day-to-day basis, no, I can't say that. I can't take credit for that. No.
No, it was close enough. What was your grandmother like?
My grandmother was a lady that was underappreciated from speaking for myself. my grandmother was a lady that was underappreciated until after she passed away. My grandmother I come from a very religious family. We were Pentecostal people. And so that means no drinking, no smoking, no profanity, no alcohol in the house, anywhere at all. A lot of church music, a lot of church time. And as a kid, we didn't always appreciate spending hours and hours and hours in church. We didn't necessarily always appreciate not being able to do some of the things that some of the other children were able to do. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. We didn't always appreciate some of the things that my grandmother demanded from us. Of course, once she passed away, and I aged, speaking of myself particularly, and I aged, and I see the benefits of what I learned from my grandparents in general. Both of them were high-quality people, hardworking people, God-loving, God-fearing folks. So I would say my grandmother was really underappreciated during her lifetime, but it was only after I matured and aged and that I really appreciated all the things that I learned from my grandparents and that they instilled in me. So I would have to say, if I was going to describe her in one word, it was underappreciated. Hardworking, caregiver of the family, caregiver of my grandfather. My grandmother really didn't work too much, but always made sure my grandfather had his food. He was a diabetic, my grandfather, so he took insulin shots every day. And she always made sure he had his orange juice, that the kids, the grandkids didn't drink his orange juice because he needed it. And just a caregiver for the family.
A caregiver, yeah.
She was a caregiver for everyone. I remember one of the things I can recall most about my grandmother was when I was a little boy, and I would spend that over home. And if it were cold, I can always remember her coming into the room that I was sleeping in and either putting a blanket over me in the middle of the night, or listen to this, LaDonna, or putting a coat over me, over the blanket that I already had on me, or putting a coat over. And you know what, as I aged, that was one of the most endearing things I recalled about my grandmother. So loving lady, a stern lady, God-fearing lady,
and it shows
underappreciated.
In you. Yeah. Wow.
Underappreciated until she passed away. Sadly.
That is something. I'm so glad you shared that with us because, you know, Ted, we know you from the legal line, and we know you're always trying to get people to get their affairs in order because you know what it's like to not have those affairs in order, but to know a little bit about the stock that you come from whence you came. I mean, that was just that was beautifully shared with us, and I really appreciate it. I have brother Chris on the line, but I also looks like Liam has a question.
Yes, Mr. Liam. Attorney Ted London.
Yes, sir.
So today is my birthday, and I just want to know, in your opinion, what should kids my age be doing to plan for estate planning, right?
Well, Mr. Liam, here's what kids your age should be doing. Well, one in terms of what a 15-year-old should be doing, and I want to answer this question kind of in a bifurcated way. One, what a 15-year-old should be doing, and then what a 15-year-old should be doing with regards to estate planning. Well, let's start with your initial question first. What should a 15-year-old be doing with respect to estate planning? Well, we know that 15-year-olds, they haven't really accomplished much yet. They haven't really accumulated much yet. As I was just telling you earlier on, at 15 years old, I'll get my first job. So I hadn't really saved much money. I didn't own any real estate, those sorts of things. But what a 15-year-old can be doing is they can have a conversation with their grandparents typically and asking them, do you have your affairs in order, grandma, granddad, sometimes even mom and dad, or at least telling mom and dad, have you spoke to grandparents about any kind of what's going to happen to the home? Do they have someone in a position to make decisions for them as they age? Those sorts of things. So you should really be having conversations with parents and grandparents asking, do they have their affairs in order? Because frankly, a 50-year-old just doesn't have a lot of information about estate planning, respectfully. But if you know that estate planning issue is important, even if you don't know all the details as a 15-year-old, you can still be asking the question to your senior family members regarding it. Do you have your affairs in order? They probably know a little bit more about it than you. And if they don't, then Liam, you should be encouraging them to get some information. So that's what a 15-year-old should be.
I like that, Ted, because I'm sorry, Attorney Ted. I like that because there's something about when from the mouths of babes that's really real, and it resonates in most families. Because when a 15-year-old comes to you and asks you if you have your affairs in order, some grandparents might say, "Well, all you need to worry about is getting those A's and B's." But then you start thinking, "Do I have my affairs in order?" You know what I'm saying? Or even a parent might do the same thing.
Now, I do want to take the opportunity to address Liam as a 15-year-old, if I may. I know this is a senior show, but you know what? Ted and Kelly, we have what's called the Ted and Kelly Charitable Foundation, where we go to schools. Hey, LaDonna, listen to this. I was actually at TF North about a month ago at a career day.
Oh, you did come out. That was before the trade show they had, the trade day?
This was about maybe about 3 weeks ago. They had a career day there at TF North, and it was at TF North, and TF South actually were bussed over. Please forgive me. No. Yeah, it was at TF North, and TF South actually were bussed over as well. So I got to interact with the students from TF North and TF South. So that's just something I know we had talked about me going to TF North.
Absolutely, yeah.
But just to address the issue, speaking to a young person that I have a minute to speak to, Liam, one of the things that a 15-year-old should be doing is, aside from the estate planning question, is exhibiting great manners. And it sounds like you are one of these kind of young folks who have great manners. But if you always just say please and thank you and you welcome, those are 3 words that will take you very, very, very far. It's just a way of stealing grace if you just exhibit exceptional manners. And what does that mean? Just saying please, may I, thank you, you're welcome. Boy, if one does that as a 15-year-old, and if they do that for the rest of their lives, they're guaranteed to have much success.
I love it.
Yes,
well, let's
indeed.
Go grab Brother Chris. Hey, Brother Chris, real quick, what you got for us? You're on WVON.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man. What you got?
Good morning, sir.
Well, I'm kind of angry because I've been on hold since 6:15, and y'all just not taking my call.
It was not no 6:15. You mean 7:15?
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I looked at the clock wrong.
Well, I apologize, Brother Chris. Go ahead. What you got?
Shout out to the WVON family. I just wanted to give props for my good brother Ted, who always trying to help the community, done some great work for me in the past. And I wanted to give a shout out to you for being a caretaker. And I know sometimes we have extended families, but all of the work don't always go around equally. And it's not easy doing that. And then sometimes the caretakers help go down, because I've seen it, with my sister. And like I said, it's 10 of us, and it's not always equally, the responsibilities doled out.
Distributed.
So I just wanted to say that. And then shout out to your little fella being there, and the fact that he's thinking that way at 15. That is beautiful. And then now with how things are, in this economy, some of the older folks, they make it, to retirement, but a lot of them worry about running out of money. So it's very important to start early, and whatever avenues you can with, money, where it's annuity, savings, 401k, stocks here and there, IULs, insurance, very important to set that foundation. And then you got to think this educational system in the United States, they don't teach that. But I just want to give love to you, Ted, and shout out to your young fella for being there. And much love, respect. Shout out to the WVON family. Very important.
Thank you, Brother Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
I'm gonna grab Miss Powell. Hi, good morning, Miss Powell. You're on Senior Talk.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would first say good morning to you all. Miss LaDonna and Attorney London, I have a great respect for both of you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Young Man, I'm sorry I didn't get your name. Would you
Liam.
say it once again?
Liam.
My name is Liam.
Leah. Okay, I want to say that I appreciate you and have a great respect for you being there. Okay, those are the first things. The second thing, I have two questions and then I'll let you comment. The first question, Attorney London, I have an estate plan made already. I think I need to come in and see you to have it updated or looked over. That's the first thing. And the second thing, for a 15-year-old, I would like to comment. I am a senior, of course. I would like to comment that at 15 years old, young man, you are valuable, very much so. You are on a very good road. You are on the right track, and you're in the right place. You have great talent. But I would like to also include one things, and the things that I would like to encourage 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds, any year old, where you live, take care of your property yourself. When you see that the lawn needs to be mowed, even if you're in a build, well, I won't go into all that. But if the lawn needs to be mowed, see if you can take care of that. The other part of the snow being shoveled, and if it's your home, let's see how we can work together to keep that property up. If you see where something is broken, simple, see if you can repair it or bring it to your parents' attention, so that we can keep the quality of our property up. And I'm going to release the line now. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for speaking the words of wisdom. I'm sitting here ready to bust out of my skin. Attorney Ted, can I give Liam a chance to respond to that comment?
Of course,
right there?
please. Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you for that. I've done a lot of bad things, but that really opened up my eyes. I really should go back home and mow the lawn.
Oh,
it needs to be mowed.
Come on, Jesus. What did you do? You went to a hardware store yesterday. Why? You kind of sort of broke the screen on the window.
Yeah.
And what'd you go to Menards to do? I mean, to the hardware store to do?
I went there to get the screen, and I got the spline and the tool. I forgot what the tool was called. And today or tomorrow, I'm gonna put the screen in there. Good.
I'm happy to hear that. Attorney Ted London, we have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to give you the floor and before we close.
Well, you know what? First of all, it's such a pleasure to hear Mr. Liam there. You see, LaDonna, the audiences, we are eager to share information with the 15-year-old. I am, Mrs. Powell is. Mrs. Powell came on the air sounding as sunny as the day is today.
Yes, she did.
I want to go back to address something brother Chris said about caregivers. He was absolutely correct in so many of the comments that he made. But the one I'm going to address, particularly because I know I'm against the clock, is the issue with respect to caregivers. The work of caregivers, even in families, is rarely even or equal. So normally there's one or two of the children, if a parent is lucky, that will care for the parent or grandparent. It is rarely doled out across even 10 siblings, if there are 10. But we just want to make sure that we keep eyes on caregivers, because the work of a caregiver is very difficult and it's very draining. And oftentimes it is not valued because all the time the folks who are not there as caregivers don't know the intensity of the work that goes on. So let's make sure that we're loving our caregivers, giving them the credit that they are entitled to and they deserve. And let's make sure that they are getting breaks as well, because again, it's a very difficult job to be a caregiver. It can be very draining. It's a very physical job as well. So, but Chris is right. However, oftentimes it's only one or two. of the loved ones who are really doing 90% of the caregiving.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Attorney Ted London. Guys, you know where he's located. 87th, right off of Stony. I don't have your address in front of me. Give it real
Let
quick
me give
and
it
the
right
phone
quick, if
number.
I
That's
may.
right.
Yeah, you can always call our office. Number is 773-721-3333. Mrs. Powell, please call us. Let us review what you have put together for your estate plan. 773-721-3333. Or please stop by the office anytime just to say hello. 1718 East 87th Street. That's on 87th Street, just a block and a half east of Stony. Please stop by anytime, say hello, get a handful of candy, introduce yourself. I'll certainly introduce myself and ask a question if you have one as well.
All right.
LaDonna, thank you so much for inviting me on this morning.
Of course.
I had a terrific time. I hope I'll be invited again.
You will. Thank you so much for getting up this early.
Thanks so much.
All right,
Indeed.
guys.
And Mr. Liam, to you, happy birthday again.
Thank you.
All right, guys, you're listening to Senior Talk on WVON 1690, and we're about to hear from Terrence Santos de la Rosa Sims. He's the Vice President of Senior Services at Chicago Commons. And you'll hear this interview that we had where he was talking to me about aging in the Black community. All right, guys, you know it's time for that Chicago Commons segment. This segment is brought to you by Chicago Commons, doing the real work to support seniors and families right here in our communities. Now, today, we're getting into something that hits home for a lot of us. Aging in the Black community. Let that sit for a minute, because we got to be honest. How we age, how we care for our elders, what we expect from family, that's not just personal. Sometimes it can be cultural. So do we care for our own, or are we stretched too thin to make too many decisions and we just don't make any? The easiest thing to do is nothing. Joining me for this conversation is someone who lives this work every day. Terrence Santos de la Rosa Sims, Vice President of Senior Services at Chicago Commons. Terrence, welcome to Senior Talk. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing swell-tastic. You know, I think about before we even get into care, we've got to talk about mindset, because how we see aging didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's passed down. In many families, especially Black families, elders are respected, protected, sometimes even the backbone of everything. But in today's world, that picture is shifting. How does our cultural background shape the way we view aging and the role of seniors in the family?
You know, in many Black communities, aging is closely tied to wisdom, resilience, and legacy. Seniors are often seen not just as older individuals, but as living archives, people who carry stories of survival, migration, struggle, faith, and cultural continuity. Historically, because of systemic barriers and instability, slavery, segregation, economic inequities, Black families have relied heavily on intergenerational bonds. Seniors often play active roles as storytellers and historians, preserving family and cultural memory, spiritual anchors, especially in church-centered communities, and also caregivers, particularly grandparents raising their grandchildren. Respect for seniors is typically emphasized, though modern pressures, work demands, geographic mobility can complicate how the respect is expressed every day.
That's a heavy load, especially for anyone, not just our seniors, but all of that is also passed down. One thing that might get a little uncomfortable for us, okay? We love to say we take care of our own. We love to say that. But life today looks so different from that. People are working more, stretched thinner, doing too many things, you know, as they say, doing too much, and sometimes just unsure what taking care even looks like anymore, let alone self-care. And depending on your culture, those expectations can feel really heavy, as you just laid out for us. What responsibilities do families have toward their aging members, and how do these expectations differ across cultures, if you will?
There is often a strong cultural expectation of family responsibility and reciprocity. The idea that they took care of us, so we take care of them. This would include providing housing or co-living arrangements, offering financial and emotional support, taking on caregiver's role instead of relying solely on institutions, whether that's nursing home, assisted living, compared to some more individualistic cultural norms in the United States. Black families may place greater emphasis on collective care. However, this really isn't unique. Many cultures, for example, the Latino community, Asian, African diasporic communities, share similar values. What can differ is the context. Due to historical mistrust of healthcare systems, some Black families may be more hesitant to rely on nursing homes or any external care for that matter. Economic disparities can mean caregiving happens when fewer resources are available to different communities depending on where you live. So while the values of caring for seniors may overlap with other cultures, burden and circumstances may be quite different, especially amongst the Black community.
What is collective caregiving?
Collective caregiving is where the family kind of pools together, and even in a community sense. So you may have your immediate family. In the case of a grandparent, you may have the grandkids, if the children, but it may be a collective of neighbors. You know, we talked about in previous segments that the community can be really strong in the Black community, and neighbors end up becoming family over time. So everyone kind of takes care of one another, looks out for one another. So it doesn't have to be a bloodline as it is a great trusting relationship of somebody that you've built with in that community for a very long time. But in addition to collective, we can extend it beyond to professional help as well, whether that's physicians, health clinics, caseworkers, social workers, things like that.
It sounds like a match made in heaven, because I tell you what, my dad just called me and said, LaDonna, I want some lobster. I don't know the name of the place, but can you find me some? So if only someone who was just sitting there on their Uber Eats could find that, that'd be great. But I would consider that collective caregiving, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
All right. We're gonna push that narrative for us to get collective caregiver space, because it takes a village. If we talk about pride for a second, because independence sounds great, and you almost expect it if you're in great health. You almost expect it if you're young or of a certain age or have been doing everything by yourself. I don't need anybody. But then reality hits. Health changes, mobility changes, life changes. And now we're trying to figure it out. When do you step in without taking someone's dignity away? So how do independence and interdependence influence decisions about senior care?
So let's think about for a second what does independence mean? In its basic term, the ability for older adults to live and make decisions on their own. That's independence. Interdependence is more of a mutual reliance between individuals, family members supporting one another across generations. In many Black families, interdependence is not seen as a weakness, but a natural and honorable way of living. Accepting help doesn't necessarily mean diminished dignity or respect. It can reinforce connection and share responsibility. That said, there's also pride in self-sufficiency, especially among seniors who have endured hardships. This can create tension sometimes. Some seniors may resist help to maintain dignity. Some younger family members may struggle to balance the respect with safety concerns. Care decisions often come down to navigating the balance of raising certain questions. How do we honor autonomy while ensuring well-being? When does support become necessary rather than optional? And so these are all the kind of things that we have to take into consideration, and use the word pride as it's not a matter of pride, but understanding to whom much is given, much is, required. And so, there's this old adage, twice a child, once an adult. And so sometimes we get to that point, if we are blessed to age in place over time, that we will need help. And it's okay, because our seniors did that for us, as we owe them to do that for them as well.
Appreciate it. And this one right here, this is about legacy. I have to get to this one, because the next generation is watching and learning how to treat us. Okay, so we gotta plant some seeds here. What traditions or beliefs about aging would you like to preserve or change for future generations?
So when I think about preserving, there's wisdom that requires honesty, preservation, and change. They both matter. Worthy preserving is deep respect for seniors and their lived experience. You can never negate that. intergenerational connections, especially storytelling and mentorship from our seniors, and then community-based care, where no one is left isolated. No one should be left alone. But then we have to kind of re-examine, what that actually means and what it means to actually evolve. The expectation that families must handle caregiving alone, even when overwhelmed. There's oftentimes a stigma around outside help, whether that's therapy, hospice care, assisted living, a nursing home, any institutional facility. Silence around this idea of mental health, dementia, and aging related illnesses. There's strength in tradition, but also strength in adapting, expanding what care actually looks like, including, like I mentioned previously, professional support doesn't weaken cultural values. It actually sustains them under modern pressures, especially of today.
You music to my ears. That is so true. Well, I want to thank you, Terrence Santos De La Rosa Sims, Vice President of Senior Services at Chicago Commons, for joining us and helping us unpack this conversation. How can people find out more about Chicago Commons?
Yes, you can feel free to give us a call at 773-373-5055, or you can reach us on the web at www.chicagocommons.org.
I love it. All right. Take care and have a great rest of your day, Terrence.
You have an even better one. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Chicago, are you looking for a place where your loved one can receive the care and support they deserve? Chicago Commons offers adult day services in the heart of Bronzeville, providing a vibrant and caring community center for seniors and adults with disabilities, and that includes meals, transportation, and engaging activities. We also offer a home care program throughout the Chicagoland area that ensures your loved ones get the support they need right at home. If you're interested in Chicago Commons Senior Services, where compassionate care meets your community, call us today at 773-373-5055.
All right, guys. Yes, of course, you're listening to Senior Talk. We're on each and every Saturday, and thank you so much to the Chicago Commons for giving us that 10-minute interview. I love talking to Terrence. I've gotten to talk to him more and more with these conversations that we have weekly about what Chicago Commons does. And if I had only known that there was a Chicago Commons 5 years ago when I started taking care of my dad, I wanted to make sure that you guys know that we're on each and every Saturday, 7 a.m. It's early, but I'm an early bird. But it's really early. Okay. I'm normally here at 9 a.m. And by I mean LaDonna Raeh. But I am so happy to have connected with all of you during this time that I'm filling in for Miss Clara Hubbard. And the reason being is because I have a soft spot for my seniors. This is just how I've always been. Even when I was your age, Liam, I remember being 15 and of course I was in high school, but I used to take care of my great aunt. She could do everything herself, but when I say take care of, I mean, help her cook, go to the store, the same things that Attorney Ted London was saying. And we did it with such pride. Like my generation did it with such pride because we loved our elders. We just loved them. There was no competition in attention. We weren't looking for recognition. We just really took care of our elders because we remembered that they took care of us. Your generation is a little bit different, wouldn't you say?
I would. We look at elders like they're burdens.
Ooh.
Almost. I wouldn't really say like full on burdens, but like we don't respect them as much as we should.
Oh, wow.
I do. I'm respectable, but if an elder does pass a certain line, then I will politely set a boundary. But
what do you mean by that? What do you mean set a boundary?
So an example would be I was at a band concert and this elder security guard, he had called me baby. I didn't like that. So I politely asked him, hey, sir, I don't like being called that. Could we maybe change that to young man, maybe, and he respected that. That was respectable to him.
Now, see, in my day, you get a slap in the face, and it could have been from anybody. Because where do you think that him calling you baby came from? Do you think that he was being offensive? He was trying to offend you when he called you baby? Because to you, to him, you are a baby. You're a baby to me. You know what I'm saying? Even though you're 15, at that time you may have been 14, right? But you're a baby to us. So what made you? What was it about? Do you think he intended to offend you?
I don't think he intended to offend me. I think that was maybe a habit. But really, the only people that I allow to call me that is you and grandma.
Allow.
Yeah.
Y'all hear this? I want to hear from you in the chat because we only have 5 minutes left on the phone. But I want to hear from you because we always assume, because we talk about how there's a gap between the elders or seniors and the young people. And when those elders become ancestors, do you know what I mean by that?
Past.
Right. When those elders become ancestors, you start appreciating, just like Attorney Ted London said, he didn't appreciate, or his grandmother was underappreciated until she passed. And at that point, it's too late to show them grace, to give them respect, to show them love. And that security guard that you called an elder, obviously he's young enough to work, right? But he's an elder to you because anything 5 minutes older than you is an elder. Seriously. But for him, calling you baby, that was his way of letting you know that I see you. That was his way of relating to you and saying, I used to be you. He wasn't minimizing your growth. He was elevating your existence when he said baby. So your generation feels, I have experienced that your generation feels the need to correct and course correct people that are older than them. And that's where the divide comes in, because elders didn't do that to their elders, but you guys do it to them. And when you said, only people are allowed to call me baby,
I didn't say it like that.
You
I
did.
didn't mean it.
I'm
like
gonna play
that.
it back. Matt, you want to play it back?
Wait.
Uh-huh.
What I meant by that is like when you call me baby, it feels different than another person calling me that. I feel how they have systems set up now, how people say things on the news, how they make children feel.
How do you feel? How does the news make you feel?
Like I'm less a little bit.
A little bit. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you think it makes you feel like you're less?
There's so many people. There's 8.8 billion people, 8.9
in the world.
And
they make you feel like a minority?
Yeah.
It's because that's what you're called. But that's not what you are. You see, I'm totally against, wow, this is caregiver seniors talk, right? I'm totally against being called a minority. I've always been against it. But when they program you, come on, seniors, when they program our young people into thinking, because see, they're starting to think, wait, minority. So you are programmed to be a minority. You're programmed to be a problem, a team takeover. You're programmed to be a burden. Then you too project, and then the elders become a burden to you. I'd love to continue this conversation, Liam, and we're at the end. I'm going to grab this call real quick. You're live at the last minute on Senior Talk. Make it good. Make it count.
Hey, this is Michael, and I have a grandson. He's 4 years old. He doesn't like being called little.
Mm-hmm.
He tells me about it. I'm his grandfather.
Right.
What do you think about that? You were talking in reference to your conversation.
What do you think about that, Liam? Quickly.
I would say,
his grandfather's calling him little. That's a problem?
No, to me that wouldn't be a problem.
But he's 4 and 5. He has a problem with it. What do you say to that young man?
I would say, you're gonna have a problem with a lot of things, but to say something that being called little, I was called little. I respected that person,
I love it
because I use that to grow.
Oh, From the mouths of babes, y'all. Well, listen, I'm LaDonna Raeh, and as I shared with you, I'm sitting in for Miss Clara Hubbard, right? This has been Senior Talk. And to all you caregivers out there, keep caregiving. I know it's tough. My daddy calls me every day with something to do. But keep doing what you're doing. You are appreciated. Seniors, you are respected. And young people, they're not a burden. They're just your blessing. We'll see you next Saturday on Senior Talk, right here on WVON 1690.
Had a few slip away. Had a few things work out a different way. But you live long enough, and you'll see it's true. The things worth keeping take time to come through.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation is 1690 AM WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
Here's BIN News Now. The Florida House has approved a new mid-decade congressional map that cuts Democratic-leaning districts from 8 to 4. Black House Minority Leader Fentrice Driscoll.
For communities in Central Florida and South Florida, their voice is being diminished and they are losing representation.
Democrats call it illegal gerrymandering. A Supreme